All right, and it looks like we are live with another episode of Women of Sales and Influence. Welcome. This is Monday, October 7th. This is Meshell Baker, your hostess with the mostest. I am going to say that. And this is another episode of Women of Sales and Influence sponsored by the National Association of Sales Professionals. And I have another fabulous and incredible woman with me, Karen Bate, and she's going to be talking about the business of belief. So our topic today is the powerful key to success, and that's women supporting women. So we were going to talk about this subject. And just to let you know, I am the founder of the Women of Sales and Influence. I'm the director of global sales development at the National Association of Sales Professionals. I'm an expert confidence coach and a sales strategist. And this is what I do. I bring women on this to the topic of talking about what has inspired and empowered them to go against the odds and to stay in business for long periods of time and to keep supporting themselves, their teams, their families, and other women with the things that they love to do so passionately that it becomes engaging for other people to do business with them. And Karen Bate is one of those amazing women that I was afforded the opportunity to meet by another Woman of Sales and Influence member, Janetta Brewer, who introduced us. So, Karen, I'm happy to have you here. So excited for what you're going to share. So, as I mentioned, a woman of sales and influence is not shy about telling us what makes her awesome. So, on this show, you get to introduce yourself. So, please tell us what makes you awesome and brings you on this conversation today.
Thank you so much, Meshell. I'm honored to be on. I think you have an amazing, amazing brand. I love the way you talk about passion and belief and how that drives everything. And you're singing my song. So I guess I should say that I started my career as a journalist in New England. And then I moved to DC and worked on Capitol Hill as a press secretary. And from there, I went into nonprofit PR so that I could have a bit of a saner schedule as I had a family and all of that. And about 12 years ago, in 2007, I started my company, KB Concepts PR. And I wanted to do what I believe so strongly in, which is show companies and nonprofits that doing good in the community is the best PR you'll ever get. So my whole approach to my company is to help people get engaged in the community, in the business community and the world around them, and make a difference in the world. Because when you do that, you don't even have to pay for advertising. It's just that type of passion and that type of commitment helps companies do great things. So the tagline of my company is great ideas for good causes. And I started it really long before corporate social marketing was a big thing. Now it's everywhere. But at that time, you didn't have causes tied to every corporate marketing campaign. So I've kind of grown with that whole idea. I'm sure I didn't invent it, but I felt that it was really a great idea. So about 5.5 years ago, having been a women business owner for a long time and knowing a ton of other women business owners who I always reached out to collaborate, partner with on my projects. I worked in PR, so if I needed a graphic designer, a website designer, photographers, anyone like that, I would always choose other women in my community. And I would say to them, we need to have our own group. We need to stick together and do what men have been doing forever, which is connecting with one another, supporting one another, hiring one another, referring one another. And so one of my fellow running mates and business partners and I started Awesome Women Entrepreneurs. It's a professional networking group for women business owners. And we started here in Arlington, Virginia. And in the last 5 years, we obviously hit a nerve because it just exploded. And we now have 6 chapters in the DC area. About 200 awesome women take part in the group. We have monthly meetings. We have a podcast and live radio show. We have mastermind groups and all kinds of fun events to support women and help them grow together.
That is absolutely amazing. I love that you are women helping women. It is the Dalai Lama who says that it is the Western woman that is going to heal our world.
So I love that.
Right? So I love that quote. And I love when I see women getting together and being supportive of one another, because you're right, men have done it exceptionally well for years. So it's our opportunity to do it. And I'd love to just take a couple of steps back and look at your our background, because what we do, and that brings us to the point where we start to step into that space of creating, it helps us, right? All of that, so some people think they've wasted. Oh, I wasted time, or it's too late. And actually, what you've been given is the opportunity to learn and leverage what you already know. So I'd love to know a little bit more about, because you were a former journalist and congressional press secretary. That's no small feat,
Yeah.
right? Right. That's a coveted role right there. So I'd love to talk about like that trajectory. What took you there, and how being in that arena, because it's something that sparked while you were there that had you do these other things for women. So I'd love to
So
talk a little bit
true.
about there.
Well, it was really exciting. So being a journalist was super fun. I was a radio reporter and news anchor in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. I'm from Rhode Island, and I did that for a few years. And the last thing I did was covered the America's Cup races, which is an international sailing competition in Rhode Island. And I worked with, I lived in Newport and went out and covered the races and did live feeds for several radio stations in Rhode Island. It was really fun. And I lived with a couple of other women who were also living in Newport and involved in the races. And we all decided together that we wanted to find a bigger pool. So we decided New York was a little too big. We wanted to stay on the East Coast. So we decided to come to DC. They also had worked in politics before. One of them worked for the mayor of Boston at the time. So we moved down to DC, and I applied through the Democratic Study Group, the DSG, which is this funny little office that I don't even know if it still exists, but back in the day, you could apply for jobs through them. And it was really, really hard, though. Everyone told me, you're never going to get a job if you don't know anyone. But I did connect with my congresswoman and people I knew. But it was through the DSG that I got my first several interviews, and all they wanted to talk about was the cup races. I had covered the Klaus von Bülow murder trial. I had covered the mayor of Providence being arrested, kicked out of office. He got put in jail. He got out of jail and ran in his own special election and won.
Oh my God.
Well, I just have covered all these great stories, but all the people here wanted to talk about was the cup races, because the day I moved here, we kept waiting and waiting. And we finally had to use our rental truck and get down here. And it was the day of the last race of a 7-race series. And we lost to the Australians for the first time in 132 years. The US didn't win. So we drove the whole day, got to Capitol Hill, left the truck completely unpacked, ran down to the closest bar on Capitol Hill, like the Tune In or something, and watched the end of the races. I actually called in my last reports from DC, and it was a huge story all over the world. And I said to my 2 new roommates, we need to go to the Australian embassy. That's where the best party is going to be tonight. So we immediately went to we changed up and went to the Australian embassy, and I had a press pass from Newport, and we all got in. That was my first night in DC.
That is so fun. And I love like how the Awesome Women empowerment was birthed from your experience of being with other women, being with other amazing women, and finding a way to support each other, not even worrying about how exactly you were going to do it, but embracing that it felt so good to be together.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Jim Rohn says that we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? And they've looked and documented this, and it's the conditioning. I remind people, we are the products of our parents of birth and our environment. That has dictated who we are. And when you want a different life, it requires different people, different conversations that support you. So I'd love to talk about how that journey of getting to that place now where you are creating those conversations and support for these amazing women.
That is such an awesome question, because I had 4 brothers and no sisters. And I think that my complete, like, women are such a huge part of my life, and they always have been, because I didn't have any sisters. So my women friends were my tribe. And that's been true my whole life. And I've never felt jealous or competitive with other women. And I don't know if it's because of my background, the rough and tumble of being raised with 4 boys who were brutally honest always and never spared my feelings in any way. And it might be genetics. I don't know, because I did emerge fairly confident. I don't know why. They were really mean to me most of the time. But my mom was also a really cool person. She was the president of the Junior Women's Club. She was a nurse. She had a lot of great women friends, and she never criticized me. She supported me no matter what I did. And I feel like I won the lottery on that one, because I know a lot of women have a lot of insecurities because of their difficult relationships with their moms. And that wasn't true for me at all.
Right. Oh my God, that's absolutely amazing. And so, so tell me a little bit about founding Austin AW. And I love that it's all, right? So it's all, right?
Yes.
Right. All is always amazing, right? It's awesome.
It's a great, we love our name, and we love our hashtags are Be Awesome and Awesome Together is our other really good one.
Nice.
And women supporting women also is
right. So tell me about how this came about. So you moved to DC, you're hanging out with your friends, right?
I got a job. So I went from the Hill, where I worked just briefly. It wasn't really my thing. It was very conservative. It was during the Reagan era. And it was a lot of people running around full of a lot of self-importance. And I didn't really support their approach to everything. So I ended up jumping into the nonprofit world, where I felt it was a better fit for me. And I worked for the GW Medical Center Office of Public Affairs.
Oh, okay.
And then I worked for the American Academy of Physician Assistants for several years. And then I worked for the Arlington Housing Corporation, which was an affordable housing organization, for almost 9 years. And after that, I jumped into my own company, serving nonprofits and small businesses in the way that I explained earlier. And during that time, like I said, we just really felt like the women we worked with needed a place. So I had a meeting in my living room, and I sent out emails to about 12 women I knew, and 25 women showed up at my door. One woman said, "I don't even know you. Somebody told me I need to be here." And we just kind of made it up as we went along. And the women all thought it was such a great idea. And there weren't a lot of women's only groups at that time. I didn't even know of any, but I learned later that there were a couple in DC as well. And it just took off. And within a year, I think we had 75 members in our group. We had to get a website. So then we charged like $25 for dues just to help us pay for the website. And within a couple of years, we had, I think, 100 members, 150, and it's just grown and grown. And women have come to us and asked us if they could start chapters. So we have 5 other chapter leaders, well, really 10, because it's 2 women for each chapter. And we started a live radio show and podcast. And everything we do is thinking, what did we need when we were starting out? And what do we need, and what can we give to other women now that we are seasoned business owners and fairly successful? And so a lot of our members are from, up in the older ages, 40 and above, but then we have a ton in their 20s and 30s that are looking to women like us to support them. And it's just a joy every day. It gets me out of bed every day.
Absolutely amazing. I love that. 6 chapters. So are your chapters all in close proximity? What does that look like for someone who is watching this, who is interested in connecting with you and starting a chapter? I mean, that's the question that popped in my head, was like, what if someone was in California or Utah and wanted to start a chapter? I don't know why those random states came in my mind. So.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. We have a page on our website, which is awesomewomen.org. And we have a page called Start a Chapter. And you can fill out a form if you want to be a leader, because it's a great opportunity to be a leader, especially as a jumping off point to other types of leadership in your community. And if you want to support other women business owners and be a leader, you can fill out the form and tell us why you think you need a chapter of awe in your community. And if you have a network of other awesome women, because when you have a good sized network, it makes starting a chapter much, much easier. We've learned that over the last 3 years since we've been launching chapters in the DC area. And we did launch one in LA as well, but it was very sadly late last fall, right before the Woolsey fires in North LA.
Oh.
And all of the women involved's homes were affected by the fire. And they had to put it off for a while. And eventually I think it just was such a disaster of epic proportions out there that they have not been able to come back and restart that yet, but we remain hopeful. But so most of the chapters that we've had so far are in the DC area. And we do have hyper local chapters because and everyone listening knows, when you're running a business, you have so much going on all the time. Nobody wants to sit in traffic for an hour at night in rush hour to go to an event. So we make them super local and super convenient, and they always have wine and delicious snacks. At our meetings, we have sushi because we have a member who owns a sushi restaurant. We have a member that owns a Lebanese restaurant. We have Lebanese food. One of our sponsors is a guy in our community who runs an awesome wine store called Era Wine.
Oh,
They're
nice.
nationally famous, and he provides our wine for every meeting. We just have wonderful, wonderful sponsors. Our major sponsor is the Arlington Community Federal Credit Union. The CEO there, Karen Rosales, is a huge supporter of women, and they are our champions all the time in our community. So we've been really lucky that way. So there's chapters in DC, Vienna Tysons, which is Northern Virginia, Old Town Alexandria, which is Northern Virginia, Richmond, Virginia just started about 2 hours away, Prince George's County, Maryland, Bethesda, Chevy Chase, Maryland. Is that I think that's all of them. Did I count?
I didn't count.
and the mothership in Arlington, Virginia.
Okay, there you go. Yes, that's amazing. So if anyone is interested in having a conversation, and to go to the website and start a chapter on Austin Women's Empowerment. And I would love to ask you, so I tell people I don't speak to like competition because I believe that in abundance, and abundance doesn't compete. I only compete when there's scarcity, and abundance says that there's enough to go around. So how does one differentiate your organization from another? Why would it benefit me if I'm looking to join a women's organization? Why would all be a place where I will want to at least come visit and have a conversation?
Another excellent question. We say on our website, and we just actually posted a blog post last week called "What is the Value of Awe?" Because we think about that a lot, and we survey our members to see why it is they come, why they stay, why they join. And they all talk passionately about and I wrote an article about this for Entrepreneur Magazine as well. When you walk in the door of an awe meeting, women have said to us, when they leave, they feel like they've had a cheerleading squad, rooting them on, giving them the confidence that we sometimes lack. We talk about the juggle and the struggle of running a business, and that awe creates a safe space where you can be really vulnerable and admit what it's really like, the ups and the downs that we all have, how to price things. And if people are not willing to pay what you're asking them for your incredible value and the expertise you have, how to deal with, all of the many things, the technology challenges, social media, which is so overwhelming for business owners, all the many things. So at every meeting, you have these women who totally have your back, and it's not co-ed. So you don't have to put on your superwoman cape like you do in co-ed settings, which are great. There's nothing wrong with them, but you don't have to pretend you're superwoman. You can be real and authentic and talk about all of the challenges as well as your successes, and everyone's going to cheer you on.
Nice. That's absolutely incredible. I love that. So I want to honor your time and ensure that people know how to contact you. They know what makes you special. And I love that you created a safe space, right, for vulnerability. And
the number 2 thing we do is the referrals, like genuine, bona fide, high quality referrals are through the roof. When you give women that kind of support and that kind of camaraderie, it's just so natural. They hire, refer, and collaborate at such a feverish rate. We have one member who told us that since she's joined AWE, she's earned an additional $200,000 in her business.
Wow. And how long has she been a member? I'm curious.
Oh, she's been a member for about from the beginning almost. But
Okay.
one of our members works for her. One runs her PR. There's another member who has a business like mine, and I'm thrilled to see her succeed with this type of partnership. It's just incredible. There's
Yeah.
so many stories like that.
Yeah. And so I'm going to just piggyback or back up here where you said that the genuine referral. So I know just from experience and having visited, I've never been a member to be clear of BNI, and they have a really good tracking system of referrals. So because I know whatever you can measure, you can multiply and modify. Can't
Right.
measure it, you can't increase it, you can't decrease it, you can do nothing with it. It's all hypothesis. So having said that, how do you guys know? How do you track and how do you know with certainty that the statement you said for the referrals?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned BNI because as wonderful as BNI is, we sort of call ourselves the anti BNI. Just joking, not like in a negative way, because we do not have any pressure to refer. There's no pressure to prove that you've referred. There's no pieces of paper. Everyone just comes and relaxes and has a really good time and decompresses with
Mhm.
wine and sushi and all the yummy things. And we also have a speaker at every meeting that gives a really quality talk for about 20 minutes with good takeaways that every business owner can use. Then at the end, we get in a circle and everyone gives their 1 minute elevator speech, which gives them a really good opportunity every month to practice it and tell people what they're looking for, what they're offering, and who they are. And when that's done, women are crossing the circle and getting together. And all of our evidence is anecdotal and through our surveys, but it is overwhelming. And
Okay.
it's incredible. And through our radio show and podcast, we hear every week these stories as well.
Okay. And that's all I was looking for. Is just how are you measuring that, right?
Yeah.
Because again, we are in an era where people are making, and I'm not saying you, but the claim. So I want to ensure that anyone listening this knows that you're not just saying what other people say. You actually have seen and evidence and experienced the outcomes of people making referrals, and you have a system that allows for that to transpire at
And
every
we
meeting.
have a private Facebook group page for all the members of AWE, and they share information with one another and hire each other and go on and on privately to the group about how fabulous these partnerships are as well.
This is absolutely incredible. I love it. I love it. So, well, we're at 124. So, I want to keep you in your time. One of the things that you mentioned was that about business and the transaction, but being a collaboration. I'd love for you to, as we sum this up, to tell people what they can take away, something they can implement immediately to increase some business outcomes, and anything way that they can get in touch with you as well.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm looking at my word of the year, which is abundance. So
Nice.
again, you and I are on totally the same page. And we have an annual event called the OS Summit. And at last year's OS Summit, our final panel discussion was called Collaboration Over Competition, How We All Win.
Yes.
And we had example after example of women who have collaborated with one another, and they were pointing to people in the audience. And we just kept saying to everyone over and over, if you think you're in competition with someone in your business, flip it on its head. Ask them if they want to go after a bigger client together, or is there something you can subcontract with me? And there's so many ways to make more money together than there are by competing with one another.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is our mantra, always, always. And to always think of if you need someone, think of a non-member first. If someone asks you for a referral, think of an non-member first, because together we rise. It's absolutely true.
Right. I love that because generally when we are in competition, it's because we see somebody has something that we want.
Right.
And what you just said is instead of staying in that space of trying to get what they have, because we take, right? Go and partner with them, go and connect with them, go and communicate with them. I know that for me, historically, if I've ever seen somebody and I see something they have, right, or I feel a feeling about them that is kind of, let's be honest, right? You have those like, oh, look at her, she's really this. And I might have that moment of, it takes away from who I think I am. I go compliment them.
Right.
Right. I go right up. I push right through. because I know it's just a story I'm telling myself that's not real. I've never met the person. I'm just looking at them. So it can't be real because there's been no interface, no interaction. So I decide to tell a new story. So I go compliment them and find out that it was actually that me pushing past that and having that conversation opened the door for so much more every single time, 100% of the time.
It's so true. Lead with the positive. The more you give, and this, and, you know, and it takes me back to my business. I started out telling my clients, give and you will get, like that.
Yes.
Give to the community, give to the greater society, solve the problems of the world, and you can't help but win in your business.
Yes, yes. Value first. My mentor, Rod Harrison, who is the CEO of National Association of Sales Professionals, says value first, money follows. And
Right.
one of the things I know about the law of value, anything that's has value and holds value becomes more valuable. And,
Right.
The more you stay in that space of just holding your value and consistently being more value, it just raises, it elevates you as an asset, as a commodity. And that's for human beings too.
Absolutely.
Right? And people forget that. They think it's just stuff. No, humans are assets that can become more valuable.
Right. And stepping forward and being a leader of any organization, sitting on boards, leading a chapter of law. There's so many ways you can give in your community, and they all benefit you as a business owner as well.
Absolutely. I love this abundant conversation.
So if people want to learn more about AWE, they can go to awesomewomen.org. And they can reach out to us on any number of ways about the podcast, about chapters, about attending a meeting. And we have a calendar with all our upcoming events. If they want to learn about my business, it's kbconcepts.com. And you can download a PDF that I have right on the homepage, which addresses all the overwhelm we feel about social media. I really focus a lot on managing social media for people now because there is such a nightmare of sense of overwhelm for all of us. And this is about how many times a day should I post on social media and how often, because I feel we all need to take it down a notch and stop the madness. That's even though I do it for a living, that's my mantra these days, is that if we all didn't post multiple times a day, we'd all relax a little bit more.
I know. We would take back the control over social media that we've given them.
Right. That's
and that's the most amazing thing. We actually have the power, but we don't use it. We give it to the companies. We give it to,
and we're all addicted to these things.
Yes.
But so in our social media for AWE is Be Awesome Women on Twitter and Instagram, and Awesome Women Entrepreneurs on Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay. And my business is on Instagram. My business is Karen Bate _KB Concepts. I blend my personal and my professional because I don't want to manage two accounts. And I tell all my clients that you just can't put anything up there that you wouldn't want anyone to see. But it allows you to be a real person, which I think is a big plus.
Exactly. It makes life easier. Well, Karen, I'm going to wrap this up. You stay right there. And this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you again. Thank you for sharing Awesome Women and sharing how the concept of collaborating, the concept of giving first and being valuable. It's just absolutely wonderful when people understand that that's our gift to the world. And when you do that, it just helps you to grow and harness more from yourself. We have unlimited or I should say limitless capacity that it resides inside of us. And when we are giving and we're valuable, we get to grow that capacity. So thank you for sharing that today.
Thank you so much, Meshell. It's been wonderful to be with you. And you are an amazing inspiration to everyone, I'm sure, who knows you and hears you speak. And I hope we can get you at the AWE Summit this year in March.
Oh, okay. Yeah, stay right there.
All right.
Y'all heard it, right? So we're going to be posting now on my timeline so you guys can come.
Schedules permitting.
Yeah. Yay! So this has been the Women of Sales and Influence, sponsored by the National Association of Sales Professionals. And if you are not a member of the National Association of Sales Professionals, I highly recommend you join. If you're a business owner or professional, you are having conversations that you're converting to either clients or advocates. You're constantly, when you're in business, you're selling who you are. So having a clear definition of how you communicate who you are, basically how you sell yourself, is powerful. So currently we're offering a complimentary seller style assessment with a feedback call. And that's very temporary. We're changing our algorithms as I speak, but I would highly recommend you go today, you sign up, take your solar style assessment, get a feedback call, and learn how you're communicating with everyone about who you are and or the products and services you offer. And you can do that at www.nasp.com/join. Again, this is Meshell Baker. I'll see everyone Monday. Karen, stay where you are. Thank you guys for watching.